Part 1. The Enigmatic Beginning, Unveiling the True Scorpio. Introduction, the mystery that draws us in. Scorpio. Just the name evokes a shiver of intrigue, an allure wrapped in shadows. For centuries, this sign has been cloaked in mystery, often misunderstood by the world. People glance at the intense gaze, the piercing eyes, and the magnetic presence and hastily assign labels, secretive, vengeful, or cold. Yet, beneath this surface lies a profound story of transformation, strength, and sacred purpose. In this opening chapter, we embark on a journey not just to understand Scorpio as a zodiac sign, but to peer deeply into the soul of one of the most complex and powerful archetypes in the celestial tapestry. This is an invitation to see beyond the myths, beyond the stereotypes, and to meet Scorpio in their full radiant depth. Scorpio, the silent warrior of the zodiac. What sets Scorpio apart is not merely their intensity, but the journey that intensity has been forged through. Scorpio is not a sign that stumbled into greatness by chance or luck. Instead, it is a soul carved by fire, tested by betrayal, heartbreak, and darkness, yet rising again and again with a resilience few can comprehend. Imagine a warrior walking silently through a battlefield. Their armor bears the scars of countless battles, but their stance is unyielding. That warrior is Scorpio. Their strength is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, deliberate, and fiercely protective. Many mistake Scorpio's silence for coldness, but it is in this silence that their true power is shaped. Every retreat into solitude is a rehearsal for rebirth. Every moment of seeming withdrawal is a step toward reinvention. The depths of emotional truth. In a world that often prizes superficial charm and quick connections, Scorpio demands something deeper. They are the sentinels of emotional truth, guardians of the unseen realms where feelings swirl with profound complexity. Their emotional landscape is vast and often turbulent. But rather than avoiding this intensity, Scorpio embraces it fully. They absorb the moods and energies around them, sensing what others might miss. This heightened sensitivity is both a gift and a burden. It requires a sacred vigilance, a constant navigation of dangers hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. This is why Scorpio does not offer trust lightly. Their path has taught them that trust is a sacred contract, a bond not to be broken without consequence. They have been betrayed when others were celebrated, tested when others were supported. Through these experiences, Scorpio has cultivated an inner fortress of discernment and self-reliance. The alchemy of pain and power. What fascinates me deeply about Scorpio is their role as alchemists, not of gold, but of experience. They turn pain into power, chaos into clarity. Each scar they bear tells a story of survival and growth. Every fall is not a defeat but a secret ascent. In many ways, Scorpio embodies the very essence of transformation. Governed by Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, they walk a path few dare to tread, willingly descending into shadow to emerge renewed. This cycle of destruction and creation is not just mythology. For Scorpio, it is a lived reality, a spiritual pilgrimage through darkness in search of light. And through this process, they teach us that true power is born not from avoiding hardship, but from embracing it and rising through it. A quiet ferocity and relentless ambition. Scorpio's ambition is a force both divine and fierce. Unlike the blustering, showy drive often celebrated in popular culture, Scorpio's ambition is tempered by an inner fire that demands authenticity and depth. They do not chase success for applause or approval, but because they need to prove, most of all to themselves, that they can rise again, no matter how many times life tries to break them. Triumph for Scorpio is not optional, it is a necessity. I am reminded of a story from a dear Scorpio friend of mine who, after enduring a devastating betrayal in business, did not crumble. Instead, they spent months in reflection and silence, rebuilding from the ashes a company stronger and more aligned with their true vision. The world saw only the success, but I saw the nights of quiet pain and fierce determination behind it. The burden and blessing of intensity. What many fail to realize is that Scorpio carries a heavy emotional labor. Feeling everything so deeply in a world that often demands detachment is exhausting. They are constantly absorbing unseen energies, reading between the lines, and sensing the currents beneath the surface. This intensity can isolate Scorpio, making them seem distant or enigmatic. But this solitude is not born of disdain for others. It is a sacred crucible where they are reforged, purified, and renewed. There is a sacredness to this solitude, a depth of presence that connects Scorpio to lifetimes of ancestral wisdom and spiritual missions beyond the visible realm. Invitation to see Scorpio differently. As we begin this exploration, I invite you to shed preconceived notions and step into a space of reverence for Scorpio's journey. This is not a sign to be feared or pitted, but one to be honored for the fierce dedication to truth and transformation they embody. Their legacy is not in loud declarations or superficial charm, but in the silent mastery of the soul, a testament to endurance, rebirth, and unyielding authenticity. Reflection and call to journey together. Before we delve deeper into Scorpio's emotional depth, loyalty, and spiritual path in the next parts, reflect on this. What if the qualities you once feared or misunderstood in Scorpio were actually invitations to confront your own shadow? What if embracing this complexity could lead to your own rebirth? Scorpio teaches us that transformation is not comfortable, but it is the only true path to becoming who we are meant to be. Part 2. The essence of transformation. Scorpio's unbreakable strength and resilience. Endurance forged in fire. To truly understand Scorpio, one must grasp the nature of their endurance, a quality born not from ease, but from relentless trials. Life has demanded that Scorpio walk through fire, not to be consumed by it, but to emerge purified and stronger. Their story is one of silent battles fought without witnesses, nights shattered in solitude, sacrifices buried deep to sustain the relentless pursuit of rebirth. The world admires the polished success, yet few appreciate the long, arduous process beneath, a crucible where Scorpio's spirit is forged. This endurance is sacred, a virtue that transcends mere toughness. It is the willingness to suffer in silence for the sake of truth, to bear emotional burdens without complaint, and to hold fast to one's integrity amid chaos. The transformational alchemy of pain. Scorpio's journey is emblematic of alchemy, the transformation of base elements into gold. But for them, this base is often pain, loss, and betrayal. These are the raw materials they do not shy away from, but embrace as necessary catalysts for growth. This perspective shifts our understanding of suffering from something to avoid into something to be revered as a path to wisdom. Scorpio embodies this ancient truth, that through destruction comes creation, through death comes rebirth. A personal reflection I want to share involves a Scorpio I once knew who endured a devastating personal loss that shattered the foundation of their world. Instead of succumbing to despair, they channeled that grief into creating a foundation for others dealing with similar pain. Their tragedy became a beacon of hope, a living testament to the power of transmutation. Sacred solitude, the crucible of rebirth. One of Scorpio's most misunderstood traits is their solitude. Many mistake their withdrawal for coldness or arrogance, but in truth, this solitude is a sacred space for healing and transformation. Scorpio is not granted the luxury of distraction. Their soul demands depth and meaning, and in solitude, they descend into parts of themselves others fear to explore. It is in these depths that Scorpio is reforged, shedding layers of illusion and emerging more aligned with their essence. This process is cyclical, akin to the tides governed by the moon, retreat and return, death and resurrection. Solitude is not a prison but a sanctuary where Scorpio gathers strength for their next ascent. The power of emotional intelligence. Scorpio's ability to hold immense emotional intensity without imploding is a rare and formidable skill. Unlike reactive emotionalism, Scorpio processes feelings with sacred precision. They do not rush healing or bypass pain. They sit with it, breathe it, and grow intimate with the darkest parts of their soul. This deep emotional intelligence allows them to guide others through grief, rage, shame, and confusion, not by fixing, but by holding space with presence and compassion. Consider the metaphor of the shaman who journeys into the underworld to retrieve lost wisdom. Scorpio plays this role in the zodiac, descending into shadow so others do not have to face it alone. Intuition, the soul's compass. Another cornerstone of Scorpio's power is their intuition, often misunderstood as mere gut feeling or dismissed as paranoia. But Scorpio's intuition is a penetrating soul sense, a finely tuned radar that perceives vibrations, patterns, and silences others overlook. This intuitive faculty protects and empowers Scorpio, enabling them to navigate treacherous emotional and social landscapes. They detect deceit not because they assume the worst, but because they have learned to read the spaces between words and actions with unerring accuracy. In my own experience, I have witnessed Scorpio friends intuitively sense betrayals, unseen dangers, and opportunities well before others. This gift is born of lived experience and a profound relationship with inner knowing. Loyalty as a sacred contract. Loyalty in Scorpio is elemental, unwavering, and anchored deeply in soul recognition. It is not a casual promise but a sacred contract. When Scorpio chooses to stand beside someone, They do so through storms and silence, through fire and time. Their love is fierce and protective, yet it demands reciprocity and truth. I recall a Scorpio mentor who remained a steadfast presence during the darkest moments of my life, not with words of comfort alone, but with actions that spoke louder than any declaration. This kind of loyalty, rare and profound, is a hallmark of Scorpio's relational power. Transformative leadership. Scorpio's leadership style is unlike any other. They do not seek the limelight or applause but are driven by an inner mandate to fulfill purpose and embody truth. Their presence shifts energy subtly but decisively. They inspire through authenticity, relentless will, and a commitment to reform what no longer serves. Leadership for Scorpio is a sacred duty, a spiritual practice of dismantling corruption, healing wounds, and rebuilding with integrity. A vivid example is a Scorpio leader I encountered who quietly transformed an organization mired in dysfunction into a thriving community, not by force, but by strategic vision and unwavering commitment to authenticity. Balancing power and humility. What often escapes notice is Scorpio's deep humility. Despite their formidable power and inner sovereignty, they carry a reverence for the unknown and an awareness of how little is ultimately within human control. They walk hand in hand with mystery, embracing uncertainty rather than clinging to false certainties. This spiritual maturity tempers their strength and enables a grace seldom seen in more brash signs. The sacred dance of death and rebirth. Under the rulership of Pluto, Scorpio's life is a continuous dance of endings and beginnings, destruction and creation. They understand that true transformation requires letting go, not out of defeat but reverence for the cyclical nature of existence. Each shedding of identity or attachment brings them closer to their authentic self. This process is reflected in their ability to rise from ashes repeatedly, each time more distilled, more powerful, more radiant. Lessons from Scorpio's journey. True strength is cultivated in silence and solitude, not applause and noise. Endurance is a sacred virtue, forged through trials and sustained by purpose. Emotional depth and intuition are gifts to be honed and honored. Loyalty is a profound spiritual contract, not a casual agreement. Leadership flows from authenticity and a relentless commitment to transformation. Humility and reverence for mystery balance even the fiercest power. Transformation is cyclical. Death and rebirth are essential stages in becoming whole. Closing reflection for part 2. As we reflect on Scorpio's essence, consider this question. How might embracing your own cycles of transformation, the endings and beginnings, unlock a deeper resilience and power within you? Scorpio's path reminds us that transformation is not for the faint of heart, but it is the most sacred journey we can undertake. Part 3. The emotional depth and intuition, Scorpio's inner compass. The ocean of emotions beneath the surface. To understand Scorpio's emotional world, imagine an ocean, vast, deep, and often stormy beneath a seemingly calm surface. Scorpio's feelings are not shallow ripples but powerful currents that shape everything around them. This emotional depth can be overwhelming for others, leading to misunderstandings. People often mistake Scorpio's intensity for aggression or their quietude for coldness. In reality, Scorpio is navigating a complex emotional labyrinth, absorbing energies and sensing nuances invisible to most. Their emotions are raw and authentic, a sacred language they speak fluently but rarely broadcast. This makes Scorpio both enigmatic and magnetic, drawing others into their profound inner world. Intuition as a guide through darkness. Scorpio's intuition is not a whimsical notion but a finely honed instrument shaped by life's trials. It is an inner compass that reads vibrations, patterns, and silences with uncanny precision. This intuitive ability is the result of surviving deception, betrayal, and loss. Scorpio learns early that appearances can deceive, so they cultivate an acute sensitivity to hidden truths. A Scorpio friend of mine once recounted how their intuition warned them against trusting a seemingly loyal business partner. Despite no concrete evidence, they acted cautiously, only to discover later the partner was involved in unethical practices. This kind of soul-level sensing is not paranoia but survival wisdom, emotional resilience, and sacred vulnerability. While Scorpio's emotions run deep, they do not wear their heart on their sleeve. Instead, they develop a sacred balance, allowing themselves to feel profoundly while mastering the art of containment. This emotional resilience is a fortress, not a prison. It protects Scorpio from being overwhelmed while enabling them to hold space for others' pain. Yet, beneath this resilience lies vulnerability, a willingness to confront their own shadows without flinching. This sacred vulnerability is the source of Scorpio's healing power and connection to others. The power of empathy and emotional intelligence. Scorpios' capacity for empathy extends beyond mere sympathy. They absorb the unspoken wounds of those around them and often become unwitting healers. Their emotional intelligence allows them to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics, sensing motivations and fears beneath the surface. However, this gift comes with a price. Scorpio can carry the emotional residue of others, making self-care and boundaries essential for their well-being. A story of intuitive guidance. Allow me to share a personal story illustrating Scorpio's intuitive gift. A Scorpio colleague sensed unease during a team project meeting. Though others saw no issue, she felt a subtle shift in energy. Trusting her intuition, she paused a major decision and suggested a thorough review. Days later, a critical flaw in the project plan was discovered, potentially saving the company from significant loss. This example demonstrates how Scorpio's inner knowing is a practical tool, guiding them and those around them safely through uncertainty. Navigating emotional complexity in relationships. In relationships, Scorpio's emotional depth demands authenticity and courage. They are not interested in surface-level connections or fleeting interactions. Their love is a sacred union, a meeting of souls willing to explore shadows and light together. Scorpio's intensity can be challenging, requiring partners to embrace honesty, vulnerability, and transformation. When respected, this connection becomes a crucible for growth and healing. When betrayed, Scorpio's pain is profound, often leaving scars that are neither forgotten nor forgiven lightly. Intuition as a spiritual practice. For Scorpio, intuition transcends everyday life. It is a spiritual practice and path to truth. They cultivate inner silence and stillness to listen deeply to their soul's guidance. This ongoing dialogue with the unseen realms connects Scorpio to ancestral wisdom and cosmic rhythms, enabling them to foresee challenges and opportunities before they manifest. Lessons to embrace. Deep emotional awareness is a strength, not a weakness. Intuition, when trusted, is a powerful guide through life's uncertainties. Emotional resilience is cultivated through sacred vulnerability and boundaries. True connection requires authenticity and the willingness to face shadows together. Self-care is essential for those who carry the emotional weight of others. Intuition is a practice nurtured through silence, reflection, and spiritual attunement. Closing reflection for part 3. Take a moment to consider. How might cultivating your own intuition and emotional awareness transform your relationships and life decisions? Scorpio shows us that beneath the deepest waters lies a current of wisdom ready to guide those brave enough to dive in. Part 4. Loyalty and Love, the sacred fire of Scorpio's heart. Loyalty beyond words, a bond forged in soul. Scorpio's loyalty is unlike any other zodiac sign. It is elemental, unwavering, and forged in the fires of deep soul recognition. When Scorpio commits, it is not a casual gesture but a sacred vow, a bond that transcends time and circumstance. This loyalty is not blind or naive. It is fiercely protective, fiercely demanding honesty, and an unbreakable commitment to truth. To Scorpio, betrayal is not simply a broken promise. It is a desecration of something holy. Love is transformation, the crucible of the heart. For Scorpio, love is not a light or casual affair. It is a sacred union, a powerful crucible that challenges both partners to face their deepest fears and shadows. They do not enter relationships lightly nor exit them easily. Their love demands courage, authenticity, and growth. It is both healing and demanding, a place where masks are dismantled and true selves emerge. In this sacred space, Scorpio's intensity becomes a force for metamorphosis, transforming not just the relationship but the very souls involved. The fire of protection and the pain of betrayal. When Scorpio loves, they protect with a ferocity akin to a raging storm. They will go to great lengths, crossing realms, facing adversity to safeguard those they care about. But this fire can turn fierce when trust is broken. Scorpio's memory of pain is crystalline, and they do not forgive lightly. Their response is not about vengeance, but about honoring the sacred contract of loyalty. This dynamic makes Scorpio one of the most loyal and, paradoxically, most cautious partners in the zodiac. A story of unwavering loyalty. Let me share a story that captures Scorpio's essence of loyalty. A Scorpio friend stood steadfastly beside a loved one through years of hardship and illness, offering unwavering support without expectation or complaint. When others faltered, Scorpio's presence was a steady flame. This loyalty was not conditional. It was rooted in soul connection and a deep understanding that true love requires endurance through the darkest nights. The challenge of loving a Scorpio. Loving a Scorpio demands bravery. They expect transparency, emotional depth, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Superficial relationships cannot sustain their depth. But for those willing to engage authentically, Scorpio offers a love that is transformative, healing, and profoundly intimate. The sacredness of emotional contracts. Every relationship to Scorpio is more than a social bond. It is a spiritual contract with soul-level significance. This understanding infuses Scorpio's approach to love, friendship, and loyalty with reverence and gravity. They honor connections as portals to the sacred self, deserving respect and care. Lessons from Scorpio's loyalty. Loyalty is a sacred act, not to be taken lightly. True love demands courage, authenticity, and growth. Protection of loved ones is fierce and enduring. Betrayal leaves deep scars and is never forgotten lightly. Relationships are spiritual contracts with deep significance. Loving Scorpio means embracing both fire and vulnerability. Closing reflection for part 4. Consider this. How do you honor loyalty and love in your own relationships? What lessons can you learn from Scorpio's sacred approach to these bonds? Scorpio invites us to love deeply, protect fiercely, and commit wholly, not for perfection, but for transformation. Part 5. Power, Control, and Sovereignty, the sacred strength of Scorpio. Redefining power. Protection, not domination. When most people think of Scorpio, words like control or dominance often come to mind. But Scorpio's relationship with power is far more nuanced and sacred than mere domination. For Scorpio, power is first and foremost about protection of self, of loved ones, of boundaries. They understand intimately the devastation that comes from feeling powerless and vulnerable to external forces. Thus, Scorpio cultivates inner sovereignty, a strength rooted in self-mastery and boundary setting rather than external control. The consequences of lost control. Having faced moments of profound helplessness in their lives, Scorpio knows the cost of losing control all too well. This experience fuels their relentless drive to reclaim power, not to impose it on others, but to maintain their own freedom and integrity. This sacred vigilance is reflected in their precision, discipline, and careful stewardship of energy. Scorpio does not wield power carelessly. It is a responsibility they carry with reverence. Discipline as sacred architecture. Scorpio's power manifests in self-discipline, the ability to govern impulses, contain intense emotions, and act with clarity of intention. This discipline is often invisible to outsiders, mistaken for secrecy or aloofness. But it is the bedrock of Scorpio's unshakable presence and magnetic authority. In many ways, Scorpio's inner world is a temple they have painstakingly built, a fortress that protects their sovereignty and supports their mission. A personal reflection on sovereignty. I recall an encounter with a Scorpio colleague whose calm command of a crisis was striking. Amid chaos, they maintained a composed presence that steadied everyone around them. This was not arrogance or control-freak behavior, but a profound self-mastery that radiated confidence and trust. Their sovereignty was an invitation for others to find their own strength rather than an assertion of dominance. Power balanced with humility. What is often overlooked is Scorpio's humility. Despite their formidable inner power, they carry a deep awareness of life's mysteries and limitations. They do not claim to control fate, but walk hand in hand with uncertainty, honoring the unknown rather than resisting it. This balance of power and humility allows Scorpio to remain grounded and approachable despite their intensity. Boundaries as sacred lines. Scorpio's need for control is intimately tied to boundaries, the sacred lines that protect their energy and identity. They fiercely defend these boundaries, expecting respect and honoring others' limits in return. Boundaries are not walls, but sacred spaces where Scorpio's power can flourish without distortion or depletion. The transformative power of letting go. Ironically, true power for Scorpio includes the ability to surrender, to release attachments and identities that no longer serve their evolution. Each act of letting go is a death and rebirth, a clearing of space for new power to emerge. This paradoxical dance of control and surrender is central to Scorpio's spiritual mastery. Lessons in power from Scorpio. Power is sacred protection, not domination. Sovereignty begins with self-mastery and discipline. True strength includes humility and reverence for mystery. Boundaries are essential for authentic power. Letting go is as vital as holding on in the dance of transformation. Closing reflection for part 5. Reflect on this. How do you experience power in your life? Are you controlling others? Or are you cultivating sovereignty within yourself? Scorpio teaches us that true power is an inner flame, sacred, disciplined, and balanced by humility. Part 6. Scorpio as leaders and creators, the quiet architects of transformation. Leadership beyond spotlight. Leading by soul. Scorpio's leadership is unlike the flashy, charismatic style so often celebrated in culture. They do not seek applause or limelight. Instead, Scorpio leads through quiet strength, profound purpose, and relentless commitment to truth. Their leadership arises from a place deep within, a soul call that cannot be ignored. Scorpio feels compelled to reform systems, to dismantle corruption, and to build anew with integrity. The transformative power of purposeful leadership. Leadership for Scorpio is not about maintaining the status quo but catalyzing change. They are revolutionaries of spirit and psyche, willing to challenge old paradigms and guide others toward evolution. This transformative power comes with responsibility. Scorpio leads not for personal gain, but because their soul cannot remain silent in the face of injustice or falsehood. Creativity born of necessity. Scorpio's creativity is a form of survival. Their art, vision, and leadership arise from a deep need to transmute pain into meaning. Whether writing, healing, innovating, or leading movements, Scorpio gives form to the formless, sculpting clarity from chaos. This creativity often remains beneath the surface, subtle but profoundly impactful. A story of Scorpio leadership. I once witnessed a Scorpio leader quietly transform a dysfunctional organization. Without grand speeches or flashy displays, they listened deeply, identified root issues, and implemented changes that restored integrity and purpose. Their influence was felt not through charisma but through consistent, focused action and unwavering dedication. Creativity is sacred rage and love. Scorpio's creative force is fueled by sacred rage against injustice and sacred love for truth and beauty. Their works, whatever form they take, are both exorcism and exaltation, confronting darkness while uplifting the soul. Lessons in leadership and creativity. True leadership is rooted in soul purpose, not ego. Transformation requires dismantling what no longer serves. Creativity is a sacred act of transmutation. Leading by example and presence is more powerful than words. Healing and creating are intertwined in Scorpio's journey. Closing reflection for part 6. Consider, how might you lead in your own life, quietly, purposefully, and with a commitment to transformation? Scorpio shows us that true leaders are architects of change, grounded in deep creativity and sacred responsibility. Part 7. The spiritual journey and mysticism. Scorpios dance with the unseen. A soul drawn to the mysteries. Scorpio's essence is deeply intertwined with the unseen realms. Whether consciously or not, they are drawn to mysteries beyond the physical, to spiritual dimensions, ancestral memories, and cosmic rhythms. This innate pull toward the hidden truths of existence is part of what makes Scorpio so enigmatic. They do not seek the superficial but yearn for the root, the origin, the why behind the world. Initiates of the underworld. Governed by Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, Scorpio embodies the archetype of the initiated traveler of the underworld. This is not a metaphor but a spiritual reality lived through cycles of profound transformation. Scorpio descends into the shadow, confronting death, loss, and illusion, so they can emerge reborn, carrying light to those still lost in darkness. Sacred solitude and inner alchemy. Solitude for Scorpio is not loneliness but sacred preparation. It is a space where they engage in inner alchemy, transforming pain into wisdom, confusion into clarity. In these silent retreats, Scorpio communes with their higher self, accessing deep spiritual guidance and healing ancestral wounds. A story of spiritual awakening. A Scorpio friend once described a period of profound spiritual crisis, a dark night of the soul, during which they withdrew from the world to meditate, journal, and confront inner fears. This sacred solitude led to a rebirth of purpose and peace. Their transformation became a beacon for others seeking their own path through darkness. Mysticism in daily life. Scorpio's spirituality is often subtle and private. It may manifest as intuitive knowing, fascination with occult knowledge, or deep connection to nature's cycles. They are not necessarily religious but are deeply spiritual, walking a path of authenticity, presence, and soul evolution. Lessons from Scorpio's spiritual path. The journey through darkness is essential for awakening. Solitude is a sacred tool for transformation and healing. Spirituality is lived experience, not just belief. True wisdom comes from confronting fears and shadows. Each soul's path is unique but interconnected with cosmic cycles. Closing reflection for Part 7. Reflect. How might embracing your own shadows and cultivating sacred solitude deepen your spiritual journey? Scorpio's path invites us to honor the mystery, walk through darkness bravely, and emerge into light with renewed purpose. Part 8. The Shadow and the Light, Embracing Scorpio's Duality and Legacy. Scorpio is the living embodiment of the eternal dance between darkness and light. Within the depths of this sign lies a profound paradox, the ability to face the most shadowed parts of existence while simultaneously radiating an inner luminosity that transforms all it touches. This is not simply a battle between good and bad. It is an alchemical process of integration, where shadow and light merge to create something far greater than either alone. In the Scorpio journey, darkness is not an enemy but a sacred teacher. The trials of betrayal, loss, and solitude are not punishments but rites of passage that forge resilience and wisdom. Through this process, Scorpio learns that true power comes not from avoiding pain but from embracing it fully, allowing it to transform them into their highest self. The wisdom of Scorpio reminds us all that growth is cyclical, death and rebirth are natural rhythms of life. Each ending holds the seed of a new beginning. Each fracture is an opportunity to rebuild with greater clarity and strength. This sacred cycle invites us to surrender fear and resistance and to trust that what is broken can be made whole again. Consider the story of a Scorpio who faced profound personal loss yet chose forgiveness and self-reinvention over bitterness. Their path was not easy, but through enduring the darkest nights of the soul, they found a renewed purpose to guide others through their own transformations. Their life became a beacon of hope, a living phoenix rising from ashes, not despite the pain, but because of it. This story mirrors the universal truth found in many spiritual traditions. The journey inward is a descent into darkness to discover the light of authentic truth. Scorpio's path challenges us to honor every part of ourselves, to integrate our shadows with our light, and to recognize that our struggles are the very soil in which our true selves can grow. As we conclude this exploration of Scorpio's profound nature, reflect on your own journey. How might embracing your shadows unlock hidden strengths? What light could be born from your willingness to face difficult truths? Scorpio shows us that the soul's true power lies in this courageous dance between destruction and creation, between surrender and awakening. If this deep dive into the essence of Scorpio has stirred something within you, I invite you to join our community on the path to Buddhist wisdom. Here, we explore spiritual insights, astrology, and mindful living to support your own journey of transformation. Please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to never miss a new video. Share your reflections in the comments, your voice matters, and together we walk this sacred path. Thank you for your presence, and may your own light continue to rise from the depths.